All right, YouTube, Repo Man 64 out here in the secret broadcast cave. Um, Man, I had to close last night and I didn't get to sleep till about midnight, and then I had to open today. So I had to get up at 5 in the morning. So I got about 5 hours of sleep and I was wiped out. I was on my watch looking at the time when Israel's sun set. But I came home and I said, I'm going to go out there and make a video. Let me just lay down here for a second. 2 hours passed. Oh, I woke up and saw that Brett had made a video. That was and I get the emotion, and I'm right there with you, Brett. It is a hard thing to see a date, but it's not over yet. It's the day's not over with yet. Remember, Israel, the mandate, the British mandate ended at just before midnight on May the 14th. But we see when Jacob left Esau for fear of his life because he took the blessing. That's us. Uh, he walked and then he fell asleep. And in his sleep, he had a dream of a ladder, which Aaron has called the DNA strand. Looked like a DNA strand, is what he's thinking it was, mankind. So that a lot of times, I don't know how many of you have these types of dreams. I don't have a lot of them, but I know that when I do, they happen just before I wake up and I remember them very well. I don't have them, then I wake up and then I go back to sleep and then remember them. Typically, a dream like that happens just before you wake up. And remember, Israel was attacked in the morning. So I'm looking still at sunrise in Israel, which will be probably about, I think, 11:30, something like that tonight, Eastern Standard Time. So in about 3 hours. Um, we see this also time and time again in the Bible where a completion of a number and then the next day. So the completion of the 40 days happens and then the next day, the 15th. It's like Jesus went to the cross on the 14th, but the Jews left Egypt on the 15th. We see this. Jesus rose on that Sunday about 3 o'clock in the morning, or at least they found the tomb empty about 3 o'clock in the morning, but he didn't, we see him on the road to Emmaus in the afternoon or in the evening. The day is far spent, so they ask Jesus to come inside. They break bread, then they recognize who he is, and he disappears right in front of them. This is the next day again. So we see this happening. I'm not trying to shut you down. I'm just telling you that biblically, a lot of times it actually completes this segment and then something new starts. So we're still watching. We're still watching on this day. I listened to Carol Vay today, and she appears to be a little struggling a little bit with the 40 days like I did. And that's why I had the day wrong. I had to admit, I mean, I'm not infallible. I had to admit that I began counting the 40 days, not when Jesus rose, not when he saw Thomas in the upper room, but I began counting when he appeared on the shore with bread and fish. And it talks about the Bible talks about these three times that Jesus appeared to them. So that's when I started counting. That's why I arrived at May 30th for Ascension Day. However, when I went back, and that's what caught me, when I went back and I counted Pentecost, I miscounted Pentecost. I thought it said from when, and I'll show you the thing here, the timeline here. Hold on a second. My wife's texting me. She's closing tonight, so hold on one second. She, we're both managers at this business, and she's closing tonight. And some Mickey Mouse mats came in that you could put at your front door. She's like, "You didn't tell me they came in." That's my department. So hold on a second. And she caught her toe on the pallet jack, so she hurt herself a little bit. Okay, she says she's okay. All right, sorry about that. When the wife texts, I have to answer her. So where was I? So when I went to count Pentecost, I realized there too I had made a mistake. And I had Pentecost on April the 5th, 7 days later. I know that Shavuot, or Ascension Day, as we call it, is not the same day as Pentecost. It can't be. It's impossible. The Bible clearly says, Jesus clearly said, "Hey, I gotta go. If I don't go, if I don't go, then I can't send you the Comforter. And in a few days, or in a short period of time, not 50 days later, but in a short period of time, I will send you the Comforter." So we know that Pentecost is not far after Shavuot. So when I counted Pentecost, I said, nah, it's landing before Ascension Day. This can't be. This is not biblical. This can't be. So that caused me to go in and do all the research on uh, Ascension Day. And that's when I realized, I was like, wait a minute, Ascension Day is May 14th. That's the day, or May 15th, because I believe he spent the night with him on May 14th, and then May 15th, early in the morning, they went out. He ascended into the clouds. They could see the clouds, so it wasn't nighttime. It was maybe early morning or evening of May 14th. So I was like, I made a mistake. And of course, I came on here and told everybody that I had made a mistake by 2 weeks, by 15 days. So let me go to the timeline and show you where we're at. And again, I'm here to encourage. I don't want you to stop looking simply because it appears as though the day has passed. It hasn't quite passed yet, number one. Number two, we never know which thing we see throughout the year to assign to the rapture. We know that Ascension Day, now that I've recounted it and gone, step by step in the Bible, is May 14th. But do we know that Jesus' Ascension Day is our Ascension Day? Spinebreaker was looking at the word cloud, and it's the same word used in his ascension as in our ascension. So, still a high probability that this rapture could occur at any time now. Don't give up quite yet. Hang in there. Uh, if you're looking to Watchmen to try to figure it all out for you, that's simply not going to happen. So at any rate, I was listening to Carol Bay today, and she was struggling with the concept of when exactly did the 40 days begin? When was that walk? I didn't, I realized that I was wrong when I remembered that what Jesus said in Matthew, that this wicked generation, the only sign they will have is the sign of Jonah. Jonah wasn't 3 days and then 7 days later, Thomas in the upper room, and then 7 days later on the shore catching 153 fish. Jonah was 3 days in the belly of the whale, spit up on the shore, walks a period of time to Nineveh, and then proclaims in 40 days Nineveh will be destroyed. At the end of that story, we see Jonah sitting, watching over Nineveh, really upset because God is not going to destroy Nineveh. He's like, why? I just told everybody, I don't like this city to begin with. They're just terrible people. I walked through that city and warned them in 40 days you were going to do this. And now look at me. He said, I would rather die than face these people because I told them you were going to do this and now you haven't. So you kind of made me look like a liar. And so God's like, are you angry that I saved those people? And then he raised a gourd up and then a worm ate the gourd and he had shade, from the sun for a moment, but then he didn't. Now he's cursing the gourd and he's like, now you're mad at the gourd? Is this anger that you're going through helping you in any kind of way? That was the question God had to Jonah. Is this anger that you're expressing helping you in any kind of way? And of course, the answer is no. So hang in there. Don't get upset. Don't be angry. Uh, Keep watching. The day is coming. The rapture is going to happen. The Bible promises us that. We can't change our view. I think these super high watch days like this where we're just all vested, and then it seems to pass. It's not passed yet, but it seems to pass. I think what happens is this begins to separate those who say, well, I don't think it's a pre-tribulational rapture anymore. I'm going to change my format. I'm going to shut my channel down because I was wrong. These videos that I make are not for you. Honestly, they're not. 99% of you that are watching this are saved people. You are all the bride. You are going to heaven in a pre-tribulational rapture. Most all of these videos, one, are encouraging you to keep watching. And they are also for the tribulation saints after the rapture. I couldn't dream of spending all these years building these timelines and making these videos just to wipe them out, not to help the one that God really wants to help. We don't need any help. We're the bride. We don't need any help. We were saved and we had to do nothing. All we had to do was fall back blindly into the arms of Jesus, knowing he was going to catch us. We didn't have to go out and get baptized. We didn't have to go out and donate money, walk old ladies across the street. We didn't have to do any of that. There's a great multitude that had to do that, and they did. Now, we might have done those things because we were saved and we wanted to show our outward expression of what was going on inside of us, just like Philip with the eunuch. Philip runs up to the chariot, the cart chariot that he was sitting on, and says, "What you doing?" He's like, "I'm reading all these things about this guy Jesus." And he said, I really don't, because he didn't see the event. I really don't understand. He's like, "Well, do you believe? I'm telling you right now, this guy came and he actually died on the cross and he actually rose again. Do you believe that?" And the eunuch says, "Yeah." The Ethiopian eunuch says, "Yeah, yeah, I do." He says, "Okay, now that you believe," and this is where a lot of people who sow works into their salvation, right here. This is the dividing line right here. They sow works into their salvation by saying, "Well, the eunuch went to get baptized, therefore I must have to go get baptized to seal the deal." And that is a work. You don't have to go do anything. You can get saved, and you would be better off doing absolutely nothing than to go out and say, "I'm going to add to it by doing this, or I'm going to add to it by doing that." You have to be super, super careful with that concept and put it out of your mind. It's Jesus, Jesus alone, the blood of Christ, and the blood of Christ alone. That's it. And that's all, like Aaron says. I got a minute. That's it. That's all. Nothing else. Now, you might want to go get baptized, outward expression. You might want to help and do things, outward expression. It did nothing for you but add jewels to your crown. That's all that did. And then there's those channels who have, we've heard of them, suddenly turn off in their minds somehow there is no pre-tribulational rapture. What evidence did you have? Like, seriously, what evidence did you have to the contrary? You just thought it up in your own head that there was no pre-tribulational rapture. You have no actual evidence that there's no pre-tribulational rapture. You just in your head said, "Yeah, that's it. There's no pre-tribulational rapture." So that again is a dividing line. And as we get closer to the rapture, we're going to see a lot of this. We're going to see people convince you of, or attempt to convince you of things that are not true. And the weaker ones will follow and say, "Yeah, he's right. There is no pre-tribulational rapture." And what that person has now done is created a tribulation saint. I know there's again, Wayne over at We Are the Overcomers explains it so much better than I do, but we are saved from the lake of fire. We're not saved from the tribulation. With that in mind, I don't want to get into that subject because I can't respectfully debate that subject properly. It's not my field of study. Mine is timelines. Every date I ever find in the Bible, I added to a year-long timeline. And every now and again, I go back and realize you made a mistake. I worked out Noah, the 11 events, the 11 date events I see in the Bible of Noah. I have that down. The events of Moses is what I'm working on now. Moses first ascended on Sivan 15. This does not match Shavuot. It does not match Pentecost. It's a different date. It is a different group of people. This is the Jews. This is the law. This is for them. We are before that. We are the ascension. We are the time of Jesus. And then we have Pentecost. Pentecost lands a week later. And I'll show all that to you right now. Let's go in here and let's share. Let's move me up out of the way. All right. Then let's go to the pictures. Now, I am going to put on my glasses, even though for you this is small. You can get this if you wanted to see this at endtimestudies.com. This here absolutely proves that we are in a jubilee year. We entered. Now you can debate on when we entered. I think we entered on March 17th, on the head of the year. That's when the jubilee began and ends on March 16th in the year 2026. However, there are certain things in a jubilee year that must transpire, and that is the revealing of the Antichrist, and that must happen sometime in September before October 31st, the date of the flood. So, that being said, this is the year right down here. Let me enlarge it anyway. Let me see if I can go back and forth. Wow, that was a big jump. If you're counting the 0 year, this is the year 6028. I know what we read. We said, well, 50 times 120 and it's 6,000, but there's a reason why it's 6028. The time Jesus spent here, Satan would have complained that, hey, God was walking around on earth. And God could have said, well, while he was walking down there until he received the Holy Spirit, the dove at his baptism, technically he was human. So, but I think that the entire time Jesus had spent here, the entire time Noah was on the ark, and the 6th month that God changed the head of the year, that's all written right here, which adds up to 556 days, all add up to the reason why we have 6,035 years at the end of the tribulation. A jubilee year is 49 years. 123 times 49. Like I said on Rick's show last night, Departure Heaven, and Bob was on there, and Jason was on there from, you know what? Let me just look it up because I'm the world's worst with names. Bob from End Times Dreams and Visions was on there. Rick from Departure Heaven was on there. Jason from I want to get on there with I'm Awake Are You. I really like that guy and the way he teaches. Also, Carol Vay, she would be fun to talk over with things. Let's see here. Yeah, I'm not going to find it. Sorry, Jason. I he's Bible. He's straight Bible, and he reads the Bible, and he associates. But he does a really good job. I like him. Somebody will put it in the comments section. Jason, and then last but not least, Truth Seeker. Truth Seeker is Jason. Got it. Truth Seeker is Jason, and then Bible study with Derek. Derek, Bible study with Derek. Anyway, I was on there with them. And I was explaining to them that if the rapture does not occur this year, we're right here. I said seals. I don't know when the seals won't start until we're gone. I don't know how long the seals last. I've seen people try to overlap the seals, but if you say I have 7 seals here, I'm not going to number any of them. But when you get to the 7th seal, that's the seal that opens up the 7 trumpets. But if you number them 1 through 7, then you're counting them 1 through 7, and the 7th seal opens up 7 trumpets. Either way you look at it, I don't see how anybody could make it overlap. It doesn't, in my mind, overlap. Seals is for the bride, or well, not the bride. Sorry, the bride goes first. We're there. Seals is for the bride to see in heaven, and then trumpets, and then bowls. From what I can see, there are linear. I don't see them overlapping. At any rate. September the 24th is the Day of Atonement. This is the day Jesus started his ministry. 40 days earlier, on August the 1st, is the day Jesus was baptized. This is also the day I believe 2 witnesses must come on the scene, I think. But again, when you count by jubilees of 49, it's 6,027, 6,028. But the reason again is this 0 year. If you don't stack that year, that's what you wind up with. And that's why we are a year off, exactly a year off. All right. So where we're at right now, in my mind, a rapture must occur in 2025. We just don't know what event that we see in the Bible to assign to the rapture. And then there's the really good argument that there is no event. It's just going to happen. Like it could happen right now as I'm sitting here talking to you. Well, right now it could happen. And it won't happen on an event. It will be the eighth Moed. There's 7 Moeds right now. It would become the eighth Moed that we would go, and that would be our birthday. That would be our birthday. A lot of people make comments, "Oh, that's my birthday. That would be great." It will no longer be your birthday, even though it is your birthday. Your new birthday will be the day you were born into heaven. That's the day you will be taken up, and we'll all share that same birthday. And I would assume that after that, no one will be born on that day. So uh, we'll see, right? We don't know exactly how all this. I personally, and I'm just being honest here. Hand up. I've never been in a rapture. I've never experienced it, and honestly, I don't think anyone else has either. That's pretty much biblical. So no, we haven't been through a rapture yet. We don't know anything and how it's going to work. We get, we look through a glass darkly when we see um, the things in the Bible. We try to associate it. We're that child. We all have to become like a child. We're that child that is shaking the present, trying to guess what's inside, but we don't get to open it until Christmas morning. And we know when Christmas morning is, but we don't know when the rapture is. So in the meantime, we're shaking it. We're trying to figure this out, and we've failed 100% of the time so far. So hang in there. But here's one thing that will not fail: God will not fail. The rapture will happen, and it will be a pre-tribulational rapture. And in order for you to begin thinking to the contrary, to me, would mean that you have some evidence to the contrary. You can't be on this train, on this bullet train, and jump off and not expect to be scathed. You can jump off. You can jump off this train, but you have to show me some evidence. The Antichrist hasn't been revealed, so that makes no sense to me. All right, Sister Sandy repaired this timeline. I haven't had the other one repaired yet, but I want to show you what I did, and this is for you, Carol Bay. The only sign given, which we see in Matthew, is the sign of Jonah. We do not see that written in Mark, and we do not see it written in Luke. The reason is because we are that sign. I think still, until May 15th, I think still we are that sign. Or we are that sign, but this isn't the day that we go. I don't know which, but I know it's at some point during this year. I don't want to lock myself down and say it has to happen. I'm not saying that. We don't know which day to assign the rapture to. Okay. So, my timeline is static. It doesn't move. It never changes. Every single year, the same thing happens. What changes is people who view the moon sliver full. They'll say the first day of the month is on the sliver, and then the 15th is on the full. The problem is mathematically that will not work. Just from a mathematical standpoint, I get it that the Bible talks about, the first day and the 15th day. And I agree that the days of the week, I put them up here, but this is day one. This is not Sunday. This is day one. Then day 2 is Monday. Day 3 is Tuesday. Day 4 is Wednesday. There are actually 2 Sabbaths every week, which is why they could not go down and do anything with Jesus. He gave up the ghost on a Wednesday. That was a Wednesday. The next Sabbath is Saturday, which is when the ark. This is what I was talking about, the 24-hour period. We see the ark resting here, but Jesus rises on a Sunday. The ark rested on a Saturday. It rested on Nisan 17. The count brings us Nisan 17, but he rose on Nisan 18. He was finished at this point right here, but this is when he rose. I say he rises. He could have rose any time after sunset on this day, coming into this day. Jesus could have rose at any point. I just question what was he doing for 9 hours. I don't know from sunset to 3 a.m. when they found the tomb empty. So I assign that the 84 hours. That's where I get the 84 hours jumps up everywhere. The two witnesses are dead in the street for 3.5 days. It's 84 hours. That's 3.5 days. So now, Carol Vay, this is for you. The sign of Jonah. She was surmising today, which I went. This is why I made the mistake. I made the mistake that she's currently contemplating. Okay. Jesus rises on a Sunday. The Bible tells us the self same day, 1 week later, Thomas in the upper room. These guys were out all night fishing. And that morning, Jesus appears on the shore with bread and fish and tells them to cast their net on the other side. And he pulls in 153 fish. This is where I began counting the 40 days. I counted the 40 days from here, and I wound up down here when Moses ascended. Moses ascended on Sivan 15, which is May 30th. But this is not when Jesus ascended. It matched perfectly. It was beautiful. 1, 2 weeks. It matched absolutely perfectly. I thought I had it until I went back and read the verses and realized that the sign of Jonah is very simple. 3 days. 3 days. One, 2, 3 days, and then here he rises. And that's the sign of Jonah. Remember, Jonah was sleeping in the belly of the boat, and the people came down, or they were like rude to him, like, how can you sleep? We're all up here about to die. They start throwing everything overboard. And finally, Jonah said, nah, it's me. It's my fault. And they cast lots and they wound up throwing Jonah overboard. And all of a sudden the seas went calm. Big fish swallows Jonah. They freak out. There's a solar eclipse. They go into port and they go into Nineveh. And in Nineveh, they say, they're not killers. These people aren't killers. They don't know. I wouldn't know how to do that. How would I be able to do that? I would rather drown myself than to save my life by causing somebody else to drown. It would be a very difficult scenario for me personally to be in. So I would imagine it was very difficult for them, except Jonah was egging them on. Jonah would rather die than go to Nineveh and do what God told him to do because he hated Nineveh that much. He would rather be dead than Nineveh to be saved. That was how much he hated Nineveh. So, but we see him 3 days later spit up on the shore. He has to walk a distance to get into Nineveh, and that's the distance between here and here. And then the first day he walks is here, Monday. First day, we call it the second day of creation, we could say, day 2. He walks for 40 days. And when he finishes that walk, he says, I don't understand why, you made me look like a fool. I told them. And so this is Ascension Day. This is the end of the 40-day walk right here. So that's why we're still in the game. May 14th, May 15th, we're still in the game. There is a verse that says something about the Chodesh, the first month. So I don't know if it might even linger under there. Now, Pentecost, I counted out Pentecost again, and I found it to be on. This is when, and I'm not sure if Enoch was born here, but Sivan 6, there's a lot of historical books that say he was born on Sivan 6. Enoch, Hanukkah, I kind of associate with Hanukkah, but I don't know. But we see Sivan 6 into Sivan 7 is Pentecost. Pentecost is 8 days later, or 7 days if you count exclusive, inclusive. It would be 8 days later. It would also, Pentecost must fall on a Sunday, or the first day of creation, or the fourth day of time. Time was created on Wednesday. Therefore, the first day of time would be on a Thursday. I've gone through this so many times. If you want to build a timeline, build it like this: 6 day you work, 7 day you shall rest. If you are attempting to use the moon, it won't work. I can't stress that enough. It will not work. The moon is 354 days. The stellar calendar is 364, and the solar calendar is 365 and a quarter. It just won't work. I can't mathematically make it work. If I just said the first is a sliver and the 15th is the full, boom, done. It's that simple. It just isn't that simple because we're missing days then. And you have to account for every single day. When the Bible says walk 40 days and it's Nissan 18, 19, that has nothing to do with the full moon or sliver moon. And you have to walk 40 days and you wind up down here on IR 30. It just doesn't give you what you're looking for uh, as far as a full or sliver moon. I can't follow that. If you could build this, if you could build this for me and show Jesus on the cross on a Wednesday and the first day of creation, whoops, that's Tisha B'Av, first day of creation on a Sunday, if you could build that for me and show the first day of creation on September the 28th, why? Again, fourth day of creation, he creates time. The first day is a Thursday. That's Tishri 1, September the 15th. If you can build your timeline and say, okay, Noah, the flood begins in 150 days. Exactly. The flood begins here at night, November the 1st, October the 31st. If you build your timeline, you absolutely will land here. 150 days from the flood is exactly where you will land. That's the day Jesus went to the cross. And then 3 days later, the ark rested. But Jesus rises here. He finished it here, but he rises here. At any rate, let me keep going here. All right. So I presented this timeline yesterday on Departure Heaven. You can go read. Let me enlarge this so I can see too. If you want to know when Pentecost is, go read Leviticus 23, 9 through 11. I couldn't find another representation of it, but what it said was that from the triumphant entry to the wave sheaf offering, right there, you will count 50 days. And when you count it like that, you will land here. And Pentecost must land on a Sunday, but it will complete that day and actually be May 23rd at sunset, Sivan 7. So then I had the same trouble as Carol Bay had as to when do I start this 40-day count? But then the Bible tells us it's the sign of Jonah. When we count in the sign of Jonah, 16:4, we count unleavened bread. We count from unleavened bread to Jesus rising, to the way it actually says from the wave sheaf offering. So what we see here, the unleavened bread starts here and ends here. This also confused me because unleavened bread actually ends on the 21st of Nisan. I didn't understand that, but it's 84 and 84 hours. So when you count just the sign of Jonah, not taking all the negotiations we have to do about Thomas in the upper room or Jesus and the end of unleavened bread and begin counting there, you can wind up with all kinds of days for Ascension Day. We count from, just like the Bible tells us, the sign of Jonah. And the sign of Jonah begins at the day Jesus goes to the cross. So we know that because Jonah was swallowed, brought down to the belly. Jesus was brought down to the belly of the earth. Jesus did not go to the lake of fire. Jesus was not down there being punished. At that time, paradise, and it might still be. I don't know that he brought everybody out. He might have brought the bride out. I don't know what he brought out of there. But he brought a bunch of people out of the people who had died in the previous 4,000 years. He brought a bunch of people out of, they called it Hades, paradise, hell, whatever name you want to call it. Don't confuse that with the lake of fire. It's a completely different place. The lake of fire is where you're done. You are done for when you go there. So 3 days later, 84 hours. On April the 3rd, 84 hours, again, becoming April the 4th. April the 4th, beginning your count, comes to May 14th. It's exactly 40 days. Counting May 14th, which hasn't technically ended for us yet, right? We're still in the ballpark here. I had May 8th. Somebody asked me that. I had May 18th on there because I miscounted. I didn't use the sign of Jonah. I went ahead and counted. Where did I count from? I counted from the end of unleavened bread is what I did. I made an 84-hour mistake, which you can see the 40 days here does land on May 18th. I don't know I don't know if there's an 84-hour gap at the beginning, at the end. These 84 hours just kept popping up everywhere. 84, 84, 84, 84. They're everywhere. When you do and again, go over here, take these passages down, make yourself a rudimentary timeline and title it like this, or print this out. Did she put her name down at the bottom? I don't think she did. No, this is endtime-studies.com. Anyway, I don't know if she's uploaded this yet, but um, go to these verses over here. Let me enlarge them for you and compare them with what's on here and see if I've made an 84-hour mistake. I had made an 84-hour mistake. That's why I was on May 18th. And I found it. I had to work on all these passages and figure out which passage is talking about Pentecost, which passage is talking about ascension. And then there is the confusing part that really still confuses me. Why Nissan 21? Why didn't God start unleavened bread here and ends it here, and it's 7 days long? Why didn't he start it here or here and ended here? But he didn't. He started on May 30th and or Nissan 14 and ended on Nissan 21. The Bible's super clear about it. But the count is not from there, because if it were from there, which it's not, if it were, it would be May 18th. And that would be a Wednesday. Notice as I went through this that Wednesday, this is Saturday when Jesus did the triumphant entry. That's also the same day Joshua entered in, which would be the seventh day of the week. But then it goes Wednesday, Sunday, Wednesday, Sunday, Sunday, Wednesday. And I went back through to check to make sure. Sunday, Wednesday. I had this on Saturday, but then I realized I like Sivan 6 better, but it mathematically is the end of Sivan 7, becoming Sivan 8. So, all right, let me see what else I have here. We know this verse. This is the verse that literally tells us that some event happens 4 months from now. 4 months earlier is the rapture. This basically tells us that's when the rapture is, 4 months earlier. I don't know what event to look at. If it's not the Feast of Trumpets, which I think um, most people are looking at by virtue of the last trump, but I think all of this has to happen before then, 4 months earlier. So that's why I'm looking. May 14th is a super high watch day for me. So, all right. And then, of course, I show you from May 15th to September the 14th, it's 4 months. So we have wiggle room in here to May 15th, and including September 14th, the sunset would be September the 15th, which is actually trumpets on September the 15th. So that's very interesting. Israel is officially, as of midnight, 5 p.m. today, my time, which passed 4 hours ago, 77 years old by British mandate, by the view of the world, not by Ayar, the 5th of Ayar, which landed on May 3rd, which is wrong. Not by that, because next year it'll be a completely different date. By virtue of the British mandate, by virtue of what the rest of the world looks at as a calendar, and that is May 14th at midnight, becoming May 15th. So that's when, see, British had a mandate over Israel, and it actually expired at midnight or 11:59 p.m. on May 14th, becoming, then in a minute later, become May 15th. So the morning time is a very high watch time too. So we'll be looking, sunrise will be here in Israel, I think, in about 2.5 hours from me making this, and it's 9 p.m. for me. So just look at whatever time sunset is. Let's see, why did I do this? Exodus 12, I have brought your armies out of the land of Egypt, therefore ye shall observe this day in your generations in the ordinance forever, in the first month and the 14th day of the month. This is unleavened bread. And of the day of the month at evening, that's what catches me all the time. Ye shall eat unleavened bread until the 21st day of the month at even, the 21st day. So like I showed you, 21st day pops up all the time. The beginning of unleavened bread is the day that, the day Jesus goes to the cross. 7 days later, that's the 14th, 7 days later on the 21st, all the way through the evening of the 21st is the end of unleavened bread. So we see this all the time, but I don't have much associated with the 20th day of the month. All right. So yeah, May 22nd, I showed you that. That's Pentecost, and it began at the wave sheaf offering. Remember, Jesus does the wave sheaf offering very early in the morning, but he doesn't actually begin walking with them until that evening on the 4th. Okay? So we have to, there's a third. The third it's on the third at evening, becoming the 4th. So we would count the 4th. So that's why we would wind up here on May 22nd. All right. And by the way, the walking with him is about ascension. It is not about Pentecost. That's why that says April the 3rd, not April the 4th. This is the wave sheaf offering on April the 3rd at sunsets when he began walking with him. Count 40 days, and you will land on May 14th. Moses is not the same. And I worked this, Kevin and I worked through this, and he found me this passage. And I said, I got to know when Moses began going up into the mountain. Remember, Moses goes up, he comes back down with instructions, he goes back up, he comes down he does this for 7 days. And it all begins here. In the 3rd month, when the children of Israel were gone forth out of the land of Egypt, when did they go out? They went out on the 1st month and the 15th day. Remember, we had that 24-hour window. And I'm sorry, is that Sivan? Savan, I think it's Savan. No, it's not Savan. I don't remember. It's the 3rd month and 15th day when they had come out of Egypt into the wilderness. So the account of Moses is not the same. This is the law. This. I don't think this has anything to do with us, and I believe we have to be gone before this account comes in view. The account of Moses, of course, is the law, and he begins going up on the 15th day of the 3rd month. And again, like I showed you, let me go back here because I don't want to confuse any of us, including myself. All right, so this is Sivan. Yeah, it was Sivan. Sivan 7 going into Sivan 8, but the 15th day is when Moses would have gone up. I haven't added that on here because this is our story. That's the story of the law, which will be, the people that are the sleepy church are trying to put themselves under the law. They are trying to say, I have to be baptized, I have to be circumcised, I have to obey the Sabbath, I have to do all of these things. I have to go to church all the time. I have to forgive my sins in front of some dude in a box, and he gives me absolution. The law is all over these people, and so that's why something seems to show up on Sivan 15, but that is the beginning of the story of Moses going up into the mountain. He goes up, he comes back down. He does that for 7 total days. Whoops, and went past that. He does that for 7 total days, and then he goes up and he stays up there. So we have the 15th, and it would appear the 22nd of Sivan, he goes up, he stays in the cloud, remember, for 7 days. And then he comes out of the cloud for 33 days. He gets the law. He comes down and then he breaks the law, grinds up the calf. They drink it. This scenario or this sequence, I don't think has anything to do with the bride. I think this is about the law. All right. And we know this. We see this in Zechariah 2:8. Anybody who touches Israel touches the apple of God's eye. We don't mess with Israel. They could be the most horrible people on the planet. I've seen some posts, oh, Israel's this, and they're the ones that started that. And okay, God will fix them. Are you surprised? They don't follow Jesus. Does anything that they do surprise you? I mean, these guys were being led by God by a pillar, and they whined about manna. I mean, come on. I mean, these guys, this is why they were chosen. They weren't chosen because of their bloodline or because of this. They were the most stiff-necked people on the planet. God chose the hardest people to save first. And of course, look what they did. They crucified their Savior. But we pray for Israel. We stand behind Israel, and we always want the best for Israel because at the end of the day, Israel is who is going to propagate the humankind for out all eternity. And from what we can see out there in space, we've got plenty of room. We've been here for just 6,000 years. And aside from us wiping each other out all the time and all the terrible things that happen to humans, we've done pretty well getting, over 8 billion people. So, and by the way, if anybody says the planet is overpopulated, have you ever gotten in an airplane and flown over to this planet? There's nothing down there. There's nothing down there. People congregate together in cities near water, but other than that, there's nothing down there. There's so much more that could be done, but because of greed, they if I owned a big city, you know what I would do? Apple tree, pear tree, orange tree. I would plant trees all down the street. I would plant them everywhere. People could get free food constantly. There would be no hunger whatsoever. It would be the simplest thing in the universe to repair this. But they're like, well, no, because we might get this Australian, picking on you, Brett, Australian bug fly that does this or that. And so, no, and that's not why they don't care about you. They just, they want to make money off of that stuff. So, all right, what's next? Let me see something here. Let's see here. What do I got? Okay. All right. So, oh, I wanted to show you this from when he began walking. He began walking with them that evening on the 3rd, but it's actually April the 4th, and it goes all the way through May 14th, all the way through it. So the 41st day will be that. So keep that in mind. We're still in the game. Yes, Bob. Bob was on there last night. We were talking, and he made a mention of weren't there 77 generations from Adam to Jesus? And I found it. Yes, there were 77 generations. This is the 77th year for Israel. Um, Again, we are in this holding pattern. We're in this testing pattern. Are they going to give up? Are they really, really watchers? Are they really, really? I mean, are we heartbroken that this hasn't happened yet? Yeah, I wanted this to happen. You know, uh, am I giving up? Never. I've been at this for a long time. Never, never given up on this. We're going to be raptured, and it's going to be soon. Hang in there. Again, I wanted to come on here and give you some encouragement. This could go down at any moment. Right now, it could go down at any moment. It could go down in the next 3.5 days. It could go down in the next 7 days. It could go down because of Pentecost, when the Holy Spirit was given, not on the day Jesus ascended. Maybe that was his day. Maybe we go in a week on Pentecost. Whatever it is going to happen. Don't give up on that concept until you have some firm evidence, like the Antichrist has been revealed, which he hasn't. This goofball running around, I would gladly see that guy face to face. This goofball running around telling everybody that he's the new pope, the new Messiah. It would take me about 5 minutes of talking to this guy to realize he's not fully loaded, and they are going to follow this fool. They are following this idiot. So this guy is not the Antichrist. The Antichrist is going to come on the scene and do wonderful things. He's going to call down fire from heaven. He is going to do all kinds of lying wonders in front of everyone, and it's going to be not some woman that was in a bed and he told, go sit in this chair and put on your clothes and now you're healed. She's sitting there. No, that's not what we're going to see. We're going to, not we, I'm not going to see that. I'll be gone, but they are going to see some serious stuff from this guy, and they're going to be like, oh wow, that is Jesus. And it's going to be quite the lie that comes out. So at any rate, all right, let me stop this. Yep, came on here to encourage you. Hang in there. You can't give up on this concept until this concept is revealed as not true. That the rapture, pre-tribulational rapture, you just can't do it. Oh, my wife said something else. I have no idea what she's talking about. Oh, I know what she's talking about. Okay. Anyway, um, go to a quiet place. If you're watching this and you think it's kind of itching your ear, kind of I don't want to say itching your ear because that's a phrase that people would say, oh, you're just itching people's ears. If it's kind of catching your attention that uh, something stirring inside of your heart, and you think there's no chance for me. I've done such terrible things. God wouldn't waste his time on me. You look like him. He created you in his image. You carry his DNA. Absolutely, of course, he's interested in you. Absolutely, of course, he wants you to accept everything he did for you. And that was dying on a cross for your sins. And that's it. That's all he wants. He wants you to recognize who he is and how low he brought himself because he loves us that much. Would you do that? Would any of you do that? Your friend's facing 50 years in prison and you walk up and say, I'll take his place, let him go free. Would any one of you do that? No, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that for anyone. 50 years in prison, I'd be dead, number one, because I'm already 60, so I'd be 110. But you see what I'm saying? None of us would do such a thing. And Jesus did that. He absolutely did that for us. Our insecurities isn't a salvational issue. Our wondering about these dates isn't a salvational issue. It's all about Jesus, and that's all it's ever been about. So just get on your knees and pray. However you pray, you don't have to say anything special or there's no formula to this. It's not a formula. Just ask. Just ask. That's all you have to do is just ask. It's that simple. And then if you genuinely ask and you're genuinely just tired of the way things are going, and just because you ask doesn't mean things are going to go great. God's not a genie in a bottle. He's not going to come and fix all the things, but he's going to save your eternal soul. That's when things really get seriously bad. Think they're bad here? Go to the lake of fire. That's really bad. So give your life. When people say give your life to Christ, that simply means go pray, ask him to come into your heart, give you discernment, give you a hunger, a hunger for understanding all of these things, and start watching and start telling somebody. There's this crazy guy on YouTube saying the rapture might happen. Even if now you've heard it and you have no idea how to explain it, doesn't matter. The rapture is going to happen. And all you have to do is walk around as a brand new Christian, not knowing anything in the Bible, and blame us. That's why we're here. Honestly, I think that's why we're all here. Is you go out tomorrow, don't know anything about the Bible. I don't know anything about the Bible. I just said a prayer, but I have this desire suddenly to tell people, if you see me go, if we see this rapture event like this goofball on YouTube is talking about, then watch out. The mark of the beast is coming. Don't take that mark. Don't just profess Jesus. That's it. And start reading and start studying. What I'm trying to say is, you don't have to be in this for 40 years. I was in it for 40 years, and I committed some sins that I should have known better because I've been in this for so long. And there's people that have been in this for a month saying, I'm in it. I'm not sure if I'm saved because of all the things I did in the past. Over the past 40, they might be my same age. They just got saved last week, and they're questioning, how is God going to save me after all the terrible? That's why he went to the cross. You think your sins are greater than anything than his blood? No, they're not. They're not greater. So hang in there. Stay strong. It doesn't matter if you've been a Christian for 40 years, or it doesn't matter if you've been a Christian for 5 minutes. Go warn somebody because this day's coming. It's going to come over them like a tidal wave. It's going to come over them, and they need something, you know. And anybody with an intellectual mind that has heard you say, and everywhere I go, I say it. Everybody that knows me knows because they come up to me now. So when's the next rapture date? I said, well, I might be wrong, but it looks like May 14th. All right, well, we'll see on May 15th. It's a joke to them because they're not reading. But when it does happen, and they go, and they were like, oh man, he was finally right. He finally hit it. He finally figured it out. He's gone. Millions of people have disappeared. What do I need to do now? Because I didn't believe it, because we're living in a world where we don't see this type of stuff. And charlatans running around doing all kinds of bizarre, magic tricks, tarot card reading, and stellar reading. What month were you born? All this stuff is Satan's attempt to make people disbelieve in what is about to happen. So it's super important that you do that. Do that for them. Give them that. That's what they need. They need to hear you say, if you see me go, whether you believe it wholeheartedly or you're just, like I said, a Christian for a day, doesn't matter. Talk about those crazy people that are on YouTube talking about it. So hang in there, everyone. Our day is almost here. We all feel it. We all see it on the world scene. It is about to happen. Bubba News is all over this stuff. He says there's just too much news every day to even report to you. His newscasts are getting longer and longer because there's just so much stuff. I love his I love his channel more so than a prepper's channel because he's relating everything back to the Bible. Preppers are great. I like watching them. I'm subscribed to the largest ones. They just don't have a clue as to why things are happening, or there's preppers that are very light Christians and don't know how to associate with what's going on with, and it doesn't matter. They're still saying it, so it really doesn't matter. So keep watching, hang in there. The rapture is coming. The rapture is true. It's going to happen, and it is going to happen here very soon. All right, we will chat with you all again, hopefully in heaven, because I don't want to make it. I want this to be my last video, but we'll see, right?